Hey everybody, this is PJ, and you're watching my speedrun of Battletoads Arcade. This is a max difficulty 1cc with Zitz. I think the completion time on this is 38:50 by in-game time. So I've been sitting on this run for a while now. Let's see, maybe a month and a half or so. Just because pretty much ever since I started playing this game seriously, I thought that Zitz was going to be like the overwhelming best character in the game. And I thought that his run was going to be fastest by like 30 or 40 seconds or so. And Zitz plays the most differently out of the three Toads. He's just a really different character. So, after I did the runs with Rash and Pimple, I had to spend a while investigating what I could do differently with Zitz, with his gun and with his dash attack being so different. And then I got this run, which ended up being like 30 seconds slower than the run that I had with Rash. I thought for sure that this was going to be like a 37. I thought for sure it was, because mostly everything in this run went well, but the time was not as good as I thought. So I needed some time to reflect on what's going on with this character. So essentially, Zitz, every character in the game has a different smash attack animation. So Zitz has this bulldozer as his dash attack, and Rash has the spiked boot thrust, and Pimple has the touchdown, the helmet shoulder tackle. And they all, despite being graphically different, they all have different timings. So the shoulder tackle, touchdown, is the longest attack, and spiked boot thrust is a little bit faster than that, and the bulldozer is just ridiculously fast. So Zitz has just incredible control as long as he's able to continuously chain the bulldozer. He recovers so quickly. He's able to gain control of the situation very rapidly. And I think, I haven't actually tested, but I think even though every Toad has the same kick, the same boot when you do a dash attack on a grounded enemy, I feel like Rash and Zitz recover quicker, but I haven't actually looked into it. It just feels that way. So I assumed that the bulldozer was going to be enough for him to be faster, because his boss kills, with the exception of this one, General Slaughter requires just 10 hits to kill, and you have to wait for him to stand up each time, so the duration of the dash attack doesn't really matter, because you're going to be waiting on him anyways. But the boss fights on Karnath, the boss of Stage 2, and Roborat, the boss of Stage 3, and Big Blag, initially Big Blag, I thought we're just going to be so much faster than the other Toads that he would have a huge advantage, but it doesn't seem to be the case. So he has the best dash attack in the game. The hitbox is just ridiculous. It hits really, really deep, so it covers a lot of depth planes when he hits with it. It's not really important here because this stage is 2D. But in the first stage, he can cover a huge amount of space with his dash attack. But he has some weird other hitboxes. So, like, his standard dash attack, when it doesn't transform into the bulldozer, is actually pretty bad. So with Rash and Pimple, against these snowmen, when you're charging towards them, unlike this guy where you wait, when you're charging towards them and you do a dash jump, those two can do a dash attack and hit the snowman while they're still in the air, but Zitz's dash attack hits really high, so he has to actually wait until he lands. So for these, I'm either like jumping past the snowman and then turning around and jabbing them, or just waiting until I land. So this is one of the interesting things with Zitz. His gun fires 6 bullets instead of 4, which all the other Toads fire. And each of the bullets, unless you're using them against a general vermin, do more damage. So he's able to kill these rats in fewer shots, which lets him do some really interesting things. Like that wave is a few seconds faster with him, because he's able to use 3 gunshots instead of just continuously booting the rats into each other. So there are a lot of waves with Zitz that are just, like, very obviously faster than the other Toads. And then he just kind of bleeds time slowly throughout the rest of the run. So his standard dash attack, not the Bulldozer, the standard one, is a pretty unfavorable hitbox. Watch this. This thing can clear the entire screen. The hitbox on this attack is so ridiculous. I think I miscounted. Yeah, I miscounted here. So I started moving before the last wave was done. It's a bit of a shame. If I remember right, I was busy laughing at how absurd that hitbox is. But, so his standard dash attack isn't great. His aerial attack is pretty bad. I think his aerial attack is actually the worst in the game in terms of hitbox. It just has absolutely no reach. Gun is ridiculous. Alright, so, we're closing in on Karrnath. There are a few places elsewhere where Zitz loses time to the others, and I'll point them out as I get to them. Karrnath is the big snake boss. This boss fight is supposed to be the boss of stage 4. The quote vehicle stage of this Battletoads game, where you're in the jetpack and you're descending through the I don't know, whatever that is, the chasm. But due to time constraints, they weren't actually able to finish the boss of this stage, which was supposed to be Admiral Oink, so they put Karrnath as the boss of this stage, and then just skipped the boss in stage 4. So Karrnath starts with 30 full seconds of invincibility, and you can't speed it up at all. And every time you hit Karrnath, he accelerates up to a maximum speed. And he reaches maximum speed on the highest difficulty after 13 hits. And so essentially all I do is I just make sure that before his invincibility is up, I have accelerated him to maximum velocity. So that when he is vulnerable, I'm able to get the most DPS. And it is faster with every single Toad if you're playing single player to accelerate him as quickly as you can. I toyed around with the idea of, especially with Zitz, the idea of just not hitting him until his iframes were done, and then just hammering him in the first few phases when he's slow. Because Zitz can get 8 hits in his first appearance, but it ends up being slower, surprisingly, than just hitting him for all 24 hits of his health when he's at max speed. If you're playing co-op, I think if you're playing 3 players, you can just outright kill Karrnath in his first attack. But I'm not actually sure about that. At the very least, you can get him close. So stage 3 is a really cool stage. This is my favorite stage in the game. It just has excellent music, and it has some really interesting enemies and some really interesting grouping. This stage is pretty scary in a run, though, because you're relying on, for many of these early waves, you're relying on the collisions between enemies to be favorable. So right here, if I kick this rat, I can sometimes get a double hit like I did there, and that instantly kills the other one. If you don't get a double hit, then you have to go over and you have to kick him anyways. In the second wave of the screen, I have to throw a wrenchy at one of the other teal rats, and hope that he only gets hit once by the throw, so I can boot them. Sometimes they get caught up in continuous collisions for like 3 or 4 times, and then I can't boot them, and I'm vulnerable, and I end up dying. And the gold rat wave coming up next is also pretty sketchy with collisions. But I think everything goes well here. Yeah, I hit the first guy, and then, yeah, the boots are good. Alright. Yeah, so the execute... Alright, so if there's an enemy on the ground, you have 2 special attacks that you can do. If you do a dash attack, then you get the boot, and the boot can... you can kick the grounded enemy into other enemies like that. In the boot, when you kick a grounded enemy, they do smash attack damage to anybody that they hit. The other thing that you can do is if you press down and attack, you'll instantly kill the grounded enemy. And I'm going to be using it here, because this guy has a lot of health. If an enemy's 1 hit away from death, it's slower to use the execute than it is to use the boot or anything else. So I went over, I'm still talking about that gold rat wave. There was one rat with like no health left, and I started the execute and didn't want to finish because it was going to be slower. And then I tried to hit him with an aerial and whiffed. So it was just bad all around. But the waves that followed it were super, super good. This is a really great stage still. So the general vermin, the giant rats, they're really interesting. They have unique functionality. So this rat has 16 health, and doing this Nutcracker attack does 4 damage. Any smash attack does 1 damage. So dash attack or an aerial does 1 damage. I've never seen that rat dodge from off screen before. So the standard route that I had prepared for this section was no longer viable. So yeah, if you use a standard dash attack or a standard smash attack, or you hit them with a stick, it does 1 damage. But the last bullet of a volley of guns, a volley of bullets, does 4 damage. And with Pimple and Rash, you can like jump and you can whiff 3 bullets over the head of the general vermins, so that only the last bullet hits. But since Zitz fires 5 bullets, it's really hard to whiff with all of them. So what you have to do with Zitz is do this turnaround shot, and it's a really tight window, and it's something that I didn't even know existed, because the other Toads, when you fire the gun, you're locked in your position. You can't turn around, you can't cancel it, you can't do anything once you pull the trigger. But Zitz is able to turn around while he's firing the gun. So the goal is to whiff 4 or 5 bullets backwards, and then fire the last bullet or the last 2 bullets at the general vermin, so that they take full damage from it. So the double general vermin wave there was ideal. The first general vermin was not good. I missed 2 of the shots, so I had to hit him with the Nutcracker at the end to finish it. And the reason why that we have to whiff bullets is because the general vermin will start a counterattack after you hit him twice. So you'll see it here. Hit him twice with the stick, and then he does this this dash kick thing. So once the second hit hits them, they're completely invincible until they finish the counterattack. So if you shoot him with a gun, the first 0 damage bullets will hit him, and then all of the damaging bullet will just sail right through harmlessly. It's a really interesting way to try and prevent you from using the gun on them. It's very clever. So I don't remember if I actually did the gun carry here or not. We'll have to see. At the end of this screen, there are a few waves of enemies here, but the very final wave of enemies is 2 general vermin again, and naturally the fastest way to kill them is by shooting them with a gun. But with Zitz, alright, it looks like I'm going for it. I really don't remember how this turned out in this run. It's really tricky to handle that wave because they're super high aggression general vermin. That was a good wave. Alright, let's see what happened. So black general vermin has 24 health. I'm kicked. That's fine. Yeah, that's pretty good. I think I got 3 shots off. Still 12 damage, still worth it. A net gain of time. But this loop that I'm doing here, the dash attack into reverse facing aerial, is the fastest way to deal with rats when there's a pair of them and you don't have a gun. But with Zitz, because his dash attack doesn't carry him forward like Rash and Pimples, he ends up losing time every time he has to do that loop. More on that later. This is a really interesting loop for Robo-Rat that only Zitz can do because his attack is so fast. So for the first 2 phases, every time you hit Robo-Rat, he's going to counterattack you. But every time you interrupt his counterattack, he'll counterattack quicker. So you have to try and do these this fancy footwork to get him to fire backwards, or get him to, fire directly at his feet because his counterattack is too rapid. That was actually a really good fight. That was a really good fight. The counterattack energy of this phase is really annoying because he has... Yes, that sucked. He just didn't want to hit me. When this phase starts, this rat has some amount of counterattack energy stored up. So sometimes when you hit him, he'll counterattack the next frame, and other times he'll actually take recoil, and you cannot predict it. There's no visual cue at all for what's about to happen. So I try and just wait for him to bleed out the counterattack energy by just swinging at me and whiffing. And every phase of Roborat begins with 7 or 8 seconds of invincibility. So I try and use that time to set up the loops safely and bleed counterattack energy out. That fight was far above average, but still not perfect by any means. Alright, so stage 4... oh, bonus round. Bonus round, there's not too much to talk about. 5 hits for the first phase, and then 7 hits for every other phase that you hit with dash attacks. And 16 stomps for the second phase here. So stage 4 is pretty interesting. Zitz has a pretty good time with that. He's again just kind of a weird... He's in a weird spot. Pimple is by far the best because his jab is really fast. Rash is by far the worst. Zitz is pretty well equipped to handle the stage, but there's some weird quirks with his hitboxes and the wind up on his smash attack that make it a bit awkward. So again, he's not losing as much time as Rash is. Actually, an optimal Rash clear is probably faster than an optimal Zitz clear. It's just a lot more difficult to get. So you only have 2 attacks here. You have the standard jab, and then you have the power-up attack, the finisher. The finisher activates automatically if you press attack by an enemy that's weakened. So these super pale, I don't know, tan-colored Grogs, they have super low health. So at the end of the first jab string, you're guaranteed to get finisher. The slightly darker purple Grogs have more health. I think they take 1 jab string, and then the next jab string will have the finisher. And then the black Grogs take like 4 jab strings before you can actually use it. So what I want to do is wind up a finisher on a weak enemy, like these tan Grogs, and redirect it so that the high health Grogs get hit by it. The finisher is a 1-hit KO on every single enemy in this entire stage. So that's the main strategy here. The only other thing worth mentioning is that the Battletoads icons next to my life counter in the top, those are the number of charges of super attacks that I have. So if you push a jump button in this stage, you transform into some type of weapon, and then you clear the whole screen. Pimple becomes a rock, Rash becomes a spike ball, and Zitz becomes a buzzsaw. Zitz has the worst super attack of the 3 of them. It's pretty awful. But I want to save those for very particular instances. So the goal here is to kill these 2, and then wind up a finisher off the bottom Grog. That's perfect. So that the black Grog gets hit by it. And the spacing on that is ridiculously tight. That's one of the things that Zitz struggles with most here. Here's the buzzsaw. This wave is just really difficult to deal with. So it looks like in this run I opted for the riskier strat, where I used the super there. What I was doing previously, or historically I should say, is collecting the super in this wave, because this wave is completely random and these eyeballs are pretty damaging. So I would grab this super and then immediately use it to guarantee that I make it through without getting hit. But you don't save any time by using it there, because you're not killing anything that you have to kill to advance the stage. It's just there for safety. So what I've been opting to do lately is using the super and the quad Grog wave right before the eyeball wave to save a bit of time. So I'm going to do another smash attack redirect off these eyeballs to kill this Grog. One other thing I should mention. Oh, that was so greedy. It was so greedy. It doesn't really matter. I think I use 1 super here. Oh no, with this, yeah, with Zitz and Pimple I don't. Oh, and I got all 3 of them! Oh, what an excellent stage. So the super tokens that appear on screen, the one that I got in the eyeball wave, if you wait for them to appear on screen, they just take 1 hit to break. But if you hit them as they're spawning, then they take 2 hits. They take the 1 jab, and then the next hit's going to be a finisher. And in the next wave, not this tan Grog wave, but the the purple grad wave. I'm going to take advantage of that fact and do a smash attack redirect on an entire wave of those enemies. Because these supers have substantial hit stop when you hit them. So you hit them and the whole screen freezes. And these things they run for a set amount of time. But the timer continues to run during hit stop. So you can't actually clear this entire wave of enemies or the previous wave. You can't kill all 12. The most that you can do is 11. That was so greedy! Oh man, I forgot I did that. I wanted to punch the Snappa, but I accidentally dashed and I took a whole bunch of damage. I'm dumb. So yeah, doing the smash attack redirect onto the smash token is really important. Or the super token, rather. Because that lets me clear the rest of the wave with one super, instead of needing two. Alright, so I ended the last stage at 1 health, and when you're playing on, when you're playing this game at all, if you're at 1 health, the game will give you more health at the beginning of the next stage, depending on what difficulty you're playing on. I think on default difficulty you get 7, but on hardest settings you only get 3. And I should note that I am playing in the original Battletoads arcade board, and using a circuit board, or using a super gun, and an arcade stick, and all that good stuff. So it is the closest that you can get to playing on original hardware. Especially in this case, because Battletoads was never actually released as a cabinet. It was always a conversion kit. Alright, so this is a greedier Stage 5 route than I was using historically. I used just 1 box on this gold rat wave in order to use a box on the previous wave. That I never really talked about the grunties, the big pigs, the fat pigs. They have a lot of health, but they all have an instant kill. So if you pick up a grunty and you throw him on the ground, he begins crawling. And if you press attack near that the crawling grunty, you'll just like zip immediately to him and you'll kick him into the foreground and he dies. But even better than that, since that animation takes a long time, if there's a grunty that's on the ground and you hit him with a box, he immediately is killed. So I do it in this wave and the previous wave before the gold rats to save a bunch of time on the kicking animations. The downside is that it's significantly riskier because I don't have the box to handle the other waves. So once again, we're going to do the turnaround shots, and I managed to get 4 of them on there. I opted to try and do a wake-up shot, meaty gunfire, because you can use the same principle where you whiff 4 shots before the General Vermin stands up, and then he stands up into the 5th and 6th bullets. But it's tough to time. This has been an absolutely outstanding Stage 5 so far. This guy is a big problem for Rash, because the General Vermin tend to grab Rash from halfway across the screen. But with Zitz and Pimple, it's not bad. Zitz actually handles single General Vermin the best out of anybody. But he's really bad at handling the pairs of them because of his dash attack. Alright, so his gun is a lot stronger than the other Toad's guns, as I mentioned before. So this guy's going to die after the boot, and I've got to really make sure that I'm on the left side of the screen before he dies, because I need to grab the stick. Entering this wave without both the stick and the box available is just suicide. And then a route change back from what I was using in... oh god, when did I first run this? 2015 or 2014? I used to use this box on the triple Mace Grunty wave. But what I found out is that I can do some real dirty shenanigans on them instead, and it's faster and safer. And it's faster to use this box on the upcoming rat wave. So really, the route that I'm using in these 3 runs that I've uploaded is a lot riskier and a lot more well thought through. Essentially, what I was doing back when I first ran this game was, wow, that was a super good save. I was essentially just making a route that was gonna get me through the game safely, because I was focusing on getting 1 CC. But with these runs, I was focusing on getting a really fast run. So yeah, I took a substantial amount of risks and spent a whole lot of time working on my consistency. But the payoff has been excellent. I've improved each of these runs by over a minute. There's Admiral Oink, the boss of Stage 2 that never existed. So these guys, I didn't remember how many hits he took before he died, and I wanted to make sure that I got the stick, so I kind of panicked there for a bit, but it's no big deal. We're in a really good situation here, because we get health after the bowling ball wave, and we still have 2 lives. So at this point I knew I was more or less guaranteed to get a 1 CC. The stick here has 4 swings, but it only deducts ammo if you actually hit something with it, and during the whole swing you're invincible, so I'm just using the invincibility to get through the bowling balls safely, without having to worry about dodging them. And I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm just going to whiff to get iframes, because this wave is super staggered, and I want to make sure that I have enough stick swings for these gold wraths to keep them under control. This is the most dangerous wave in the game. I think I actually get the grouping. Yep, I do. So this is a pretty good example of why Zitz just kind of slowly loses time here and there. If you watch this fight, and then you go back and you watch this fight with, say, Rash or Pimple, either of them really, I think I get a good clean wave with both of them. It's pretty clear that the other two have a much quicker fight here, just because their dash attack propels them forward. So Zitz is able to continuously cancel his dash attacks and regain control, but he loses control of the situation in some of these boss fights because he doesn't get the propulsion. All right, so wow, I actually got that loop. Holy moly, that's super hard to do with Zitz. So Big Blag starts every phase, small and big, with 8 seconds of invincibility. So what I do whenever he's in a small phase is I let him roll around to just kind of burn off some of the time. So I know when he rolls left here, and then rolls right, and then rolls left again, that pretty much perfectly uses up all of his iframes. With Zitz, I can't do the same loop that Rash and Pimple do, so I opt to use stick and then one smash attack afterwards in second phase. In the first phase, I took a damage boost intentionally so that I could set up the dash attack into retreating aerial loop. It's super, super tight with Zitz and not recommended. That was an unbelievable fight. I cannot believe I actually went for that. That was really good. Yeah, Pimple and Rash have a much easier fight against Big Blag because of the way that their dash attack works, and because they have a much more generous hitbox on their aerial. Zitz can't really reliably do that strat. Alright, so we're going into the final stage, and this is like, at this point I just kind of stopped caring. My stage 6s have been just so good. I knew that I was guaranteed to get a 1cc, and the time was pretty much guaranteed to be really good. And it was a combination of bad decisions and just really bad luck here at the beginning. It didn't really cost me any time, but it just sucked. So that shot down there missed the fireball. It was a 1-frame dodge that fireball did. As you can see with this pea shooter, it's not firing in a straight line. It's kind of oscillating. Essentially, with the fireball got the exact bullet pattern that it needed to weave between them. So, like, the bullet fired short, and then the next bullet fired long, and right between those bullets, the fireball was able to slip through. I'm trying to think what happened with the next one. We'll see. It was just bad decision making. Oh, that's right. That's right. That's so dumb. So I activated the power-up too far to the right, and then I got blocked from collecting it because the fireballs appeared in front of it. and then I just couldn't dodge them. I tried to dodge far right, and I couldn't. I'm not exactly sure why I couldn't, but I couldn't. Whatever. So that's what killed the no-miss run, the deathless run here. Spoiler alert, I don't die for the rest of the stage. So it's just a one-death run. I guess that solidifies the fact that Pimple is the only Toad with whom I've gotten a no-miss run. One other thing that I'm doing here, so you can only fire in 8 directions. This game uses an 8-way stick. But in this stage, if you're holding the fire button and then you turn, Zitz continues to fire while he's rotating between 2 adjacent directions. So you can fire at these really shallow or really steep angles if you just kind of wiggle between, say, right and upright. Kind of like what I'm doing there. So I'm going to fire like really shallow here to put some bullet holes in the bottom part. Because the background area here, the terrain will actually block your shots. So while there's nothing to shoot at, I want to make sure that I use up as much of the blockable terrain as I can. So that when it's actually time to shoot this guy, all of the bullets will actually hit him. Just a minor optimization. Doesn't save a lot of time. One thing, I mentioned this in every single run, but it's worth mentioning again in case this is the only run of mine that you watch. The power-ups in this stage spawn on kind of a fixed timer. So they'll spawn at a set amount of time after you reach like certain checkpoints. It doesn't really matter what wave you're on. It just matters how quickly you got to that wave. That determines what power-up you get. So I'm doing certain things like delaying the finish of certain waves and holding off on collecting certain power-ups because I know that I'm going to need them for certain waves, because I know that my next power-up isn't going to come for a certain amount of time. All of that is just to manipulate when the drops are going to happen. And the weapons that you do get are time-based as well. They're not ammo-based, so you can't like collect a flamethrower and then just pacifist your way through 5 waves and murder some turrets or something. Just once you collect a power-up, you have to use it. And the power-ups don't linger forever either. So when they're question marks, I think they do like 2 passes and then they just fly off screen. And after you open them, they just continuously float to the left. This is pretty cute. Because the debris is the positioning of the debris is random and the trajectory of the bullet, the pea shooter, is random. Sometimes you can't actually collect the flamethrower the first time. And if I didn't manage to get it on the second pass, I would have been in some serious trouble. This is another random wave. Most of this game is not random, which is what makes it feasible to speedrun. But this wave is, and it's really tough to deal with if they give you bad positions. Generally, if you make it past the first, the pea shooter wave, and you can start getting the spread gun, you're pretty good. The spread gun controls the space really well. And I save up all of my, those things, the super attacks. Save up basically all of them for this wave. I still had some to spare. Still had some to spare. That was an incredibly good red drone wave. I save those up because you're just guaranteed to get into positions there where you just can't turn fast enough to shoot them, and you have to use the super. I really only care that I have 1 spare super upon leaving that wave, because I collect 1 for the Ratcopter here, and I need 2 for an optimal Robomanus fight. So this guy, I don't want to kill optimally. I want to just continuously shoot him, and then depending on how my fight's been going, I'll mix in some delays. Because I want to kill him shortly after I collect the flamethrower. There it is. So what we're doing here is we're stalling. If I kill that guy optimally and I kill these turrets as fast as I can, we're going to be 1 power-up short before we get to the boss. So I wait here again a little bit to make sure that the spread gun spawns. The power-up cycle resets once this battle begins. So essentially we're just getting a power-up as late as we can before the fight. So we get to use it for as long as possible. And then we're going to get a refill here. And taking the spread gun into this fight just lets me absolutely hammer on the first phase. So we kill him before he does the second fire ring. well, I mean, we would kill him before second firing for sure, regardless. But it lets us kill him during the firing attack itself. And all of the power-up spawns from here until the end of the fight, the end of the 6th phase of this fight, all of them are timer-based. So it's important that we kill all of these phases in a certain spot. For instance, I want the flamethrower to spawn here, so that I can use this super to clear the drones and collect the flamethrower, and then use the flamethrower to kill him. But I don't want to be too fast, because I want the 3-way to spawn on the left right here, so that we can start hitting the hands with it. In this phase, well, so all the power-up drops are in a set cycle. So I knew, like, that flamethrower that I collected is guaranteed to be a flamethrower every time, and the spread gun's guaranteed to be a spread gun every time. There's a laser spawn that's going to be coming up soon. You're going to spawn a 3-way from the top, and then the next spawn on the bottom is going to be a laser. If you're still in that hands phase when the game tries to spawn a laser or a flamethrower, then it spawns it as a spread gun, because the laser and the flamethrower can't actually hit that wave. And we want the laser for this phase, because it does a ton of damage to Robomanus. It does a ton of damage to him. So, essentially, I'm manipulating the power-up cycles for the first 4 phases of Robomanus to guarantee that I get a laser at the right point during this one. And that puts us in a really good position with the rest of the power-ups as well. In addition to just saving a whole ton of time, because the laser is incredible. I think the next power-up is going to be Flamethrower. So to put things into perspective, my old standards, back when I used to run this in, again, like 2014 or whenever, my old standards were to get the Flamethrower as he changed phases from closed helmet to exposed brain. And already we are 3 health increments into this phase, and we just got Flamethrower. So the new power-up cycles save a ridiculous amount of time, and it's one of the things that it doesn't seem like you should be able to save so much time in this stage, because it is almost strictly an auto-scroller. But there's a lot of stuff that's just like hidden time savers you wouldn't really consider. And I've been really fortunate with these 3 runs, and all 3 of them have had unbelievably fast Robomanus fights. I've had some really heartbreaking runs where I've made it to Robomanus with, you know, this kind of positioning where I'm guaranteed to get a 1 CC, and I miss a power-up or I mismanage some of my shots or some of the waves, and I end up losing like 45 seconds on Robomanus. Like, Robomanus is dead now. He died before I actually got the last spread shot. And again, the old standards were to kill him shortly after the laser expires, and the next spawn is going to be the laser. With new standards, I want to kill him before that even spawns. And I managed to do it here. I think that was the fastest Robomanus kill that I've ever had with Zitz. It was just ridiculously fast. So yeah, I'm super happy with this run. Again, I'm kind of taken aback by the time, because I was expecting it to be much faster, but there really isn't a whole lot that I could do to cut more time off this. There were only a few waves that didn't go absolutely perfectly, and most of those that didn't go absolutely perfectly were just luck-based. It wasn't an execution error. So I'm super happy with this run. And I don't have any plans at this point to try and improve it or either of the other 2. It's been an interesting journey working on this game again. I love this game. This is probably my favorite arcade game. It's always a blast to play. But this latest return to Battletoads Arcade has been pretty stressful. I've had a load of equipment malfunction. My previous super gun's just entirely broken now, so I had to get the new super gun working properly. The battery died in my board, so I had to replace that, and it was my first time doing a repair on an arcade board. And this board now is like $450. I bought it for $100 back in like 2011, so I was pretty nervous about potentially damaging it. Then I had all kinds of issues with my capture equipment. And all of this was like right before AGDQ, where I was scheduled to run it. So it was a really stressful time to be working on this game. But the end result is good, and I'm really happy that I stuck with it. I'm really glad that we have some really nice, high-quality video for these runs. I think these were the first runs. Yeah, these are the first runs that I did with the OSSC. So I'm glad that they're in like the highest quality that I care for right now. The quality of the runs themselves are really good. These leaderboards have all of my times on them: 38, 50, 25, and 53 with the others. So yeah, I'm pretty pumped. I'm really happy with the work that I did. I might return to this game and try and do an even stupider route in the future, but for now I think I'm just going to enjoy my break. And of course, at the end of this, you get a special message if you have the fastest time and most kills. And then I go into the settings and show that I am indeed playing on difficulty 6. So thank you so much for watching, guys. I really hope you enjoyed the run, and I'll see you next time.